Well, good morning, folks. Welcome back to Three's In. Bobo's back with you again. So, at some point in early March 1971, it was on a Friday afternoon. We were on early week, which meant late week. We went to academics. And the reason I know that is because we were in the midst of taking a Morse code proficiency test. Morse code, dit, dot, dit, dot. Okay. So we're taking this test, but right before we went into the test, it was at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, our class commander came in and he said, listen, he says, as soon as you finish with this test, there's an all pilots meeting in one of the hangars just up the road, and mandatory once you complete the test. He says, I think he said it's going to be like at 4:45 or something like that. Okay, so we all put on our headphones and started doing dits and dots and so forth, filling out the test and whatnot. I had learned Morse code in Ramey, Puerto Rico when I was a kid, so I pretty well had a good, I just blew through that one and was ready to go. So we go over to this hangar, and they had a flatbed truck there right in the middle of the hangar. Now the rumors were flying. This is 1971. And there were all kind of rumors. Just, you pick a class, you got a rumor. Pick a bunch of IPs, you got a rumor. I mean, they were all flying around. Everything from, we're finally going to go take it to the Vietnamese, like we were hoping we would anyway, to where they're going to close Laughlin, to they're going to close this base or that base or whatever. So we're all standing in there in a buzz, and you could just feel the buzz going, low intensity buzz. And about 4:40, about 5 o'clock, I guess, somewhere in that time period, in walks our wing commander, Colonel Vandenberg, Hoyt Vandenberg Jr. He walks in, and he's got the wing staff behind him. He's got the DO and 3 of the squadron commanders, the 37, the 38, and the academic squadron commanders. So they all come traipsing in, climb up the ladder onto a flatbed truck they had sitting there. And Colonel Vandenberg walked up to the mic. Now, he'd been a thud pilot in Vietnam. So he walks up to the microphone and he says, well, at ease, gentlemen, because we'd all come to attention. At ease, gentlemen, he said, I've been the wing commander now for a couple months, and he says, I am just tired, sick and tired of getting a bunch of crap from my buddies about ATC pukes being a bunch of wussies. And that's the way the briefing started. And he went on talking about this, that, and the other. He says, from now on, he says, we're going to start behaving like real Air Force pilots instead of this other crap. And he said, to that end, he says, shortly hereafter, the Auger Inn is open to pilots only. He says, not wives, not girlfriends, none of this or none of that. He says, it's a pilot's bar. And he said, if your wife won't let you come, he said, well, just sit home and play cards with her. I don't care. He said, beer's going to be 25 cents a bottle during happy hour. And he says, if you bring a Playboy picture to put on the wall, it's free. Wow. So we're sitting there. I guess we're not going to close Laughlin. I guess we're not going to bomb the hell out of Vietnam. Okay, fine. But you could just feel this buzz and this excitement beginning to build. And oh man, was that cool. That was just so cool. And I guess you had to have been there. So he says, all right, he says, the last thing I want to do is introduce you to the wing drinking team. He says, I happen to lead it. And as if on command, all 4 of the other guys up there went, what? He had not told them. Their heads in unison just all shifted. What? He says, what we're going to do and what we do, he says, we get in line, and he says, we chug beers one after another. And he said, until our team is beaten, he said, we'll take on anybody if you feel you have it in you. He says, if you don't feel like you can chug a beer, he says, just pop the can lid and pour it over your head, and when it's empty, that's good. Oh man, this is a guy I think we can get into. Okay, so we all go over to the club. I mean, it was like a Le Mans start out of the hangar. Everybody goes over to the officers club, down the stairs into the Auger Inn, and Mr. Moss was the bartender there. God, I love Mr. Moss. He was still the bartender there when I retired in 1988, but be that as it may. He's over there, guys are taking their wallets out, putting $1.50 on or $2 on the bar, and he's handing them a six-pack of Bud Light, or Budweiser. We didn't have Bud Light in those days. We had Bud in bottles. And so you take 2 beers in this here, 2 in the lower pockets in your flight suit, and then you got 2 in your hand. And I tell you what, that was a night to behold. I don't think they ever had one before or after. But I remember when I finally left, an hour or so later, the beer on the floor of the auger inn was about that thick, about an inch thick maybe. And God, that was a wild night. The wing drinking team held up for about 5 challenges, if memory serves. I didn't participate. I don't know why. I don't think they started in seniority with the classes, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember many of those details, but I do remember when I got home, I carpooled with Jim Grizzard, Dave Vickery, and Fred Drake. And we had agreed that when we got home, we were going to invite our wives to the movies to kind of wash over everything. So that's what we did. So we went in the house and explained what we were doing and so forth, just reeking of beer. And said, we want to go to the movies, get ready. So, of course, they got ready. And back out to the base, we went to the movies. We're sitting in the damn movies. A couple of us discovered we still had beer in the lower pockets of our flight suits. So, a bonus, I guess. Once we drank it, we just set it on the floor and kind of rolled it down the theater floor. Oh, God, it was a mess. One of the greatest nights in pilot training that I never saw again. Oh, man, can you imagine trying that today? Holy crap, mother of Moses. At any rate, that's kind of how esprit de corps was defined in those days. I can hear the wailing of certain segments of our society today. Well, just keep on wailing. I don't care. That was one hell of a night. And every now and then I'll run into somebody who went through UPT at Randolph. And all you got to do is say, do you remember Colonel Vandenberg? Oh, yeah, the auger inn. And then off it goes. That being said, Bobo here. Glad to see everybody. And we'll talk to you again soon. Base gear. Stop.